Ladies and gentlemen, here we are once again with another exciting instalment of the Scouser and the Scot.
So today we've got a couple of familiar faces.
We have.
How are you doing, guys? If anyone doesn't know these two, may I just say we have got the lovely Zhany and Steve from Rockin The Bowl. How the hell are you doing?
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Great. How are you and John doing? Are you guys okay?
We're doing very well, thank you for asking. We're just keeping busy as always, and it's still lockdown, but sort of off long, in, out, whatever. You know what I mean? We just take it as it comes. So tell us, what have you been up to?
Oh, we've been so busy. Sometimes I wish we could have a holiday for 3 months, but it's just not going to happen. So yeah, we've been really, really busy, and it's all positive at the moment. Haven't got much to moan about, which should be good.
Yeah, it's a sort of, for me, it's a mixture of extreme excitement and huge anxiety mixed into one, because we're so excited that we were some of the lucky ones and we were able to do this year. And then when that sinks in, there's, oh my God, we're doing it this year.
It's a month away.
It's about 6 weeks.
Yeah,
about 6 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not
So,
when we had the website redesigned, the web designer said we should put a countdown timer on it, and I keep looking at that and keep getting more and more nervous.
I don't look at it. I don't even look at it.
I must admit, as somebody that puts on much smaller events, I've found that, like, since we did the first one with Ian's band and Blitz and Jamie Porter up at Waterloo a couple of months ago, and those are just small ones. It's a fucking nightmare. It really is. I don't know how you guys do it. You know, just doing that gig and smoking the water and everything else. Although the anxiety levels, because you know, for 3 or 4, if you've only got 3 bands on, but it's the getting people to come to the gig. It's is any of the band members going to get COVID? So that means then that they can't play. So you're constantly, God knows how you guys are dealing with that alone.
You know,
sorry, we tend to, we have these moments, same as you guys, and you know, because we went to smoke on the water, and you're running around thinking, oh, is this good? Is this okay? Is this how it's supposed to be? And from a pointless point of view, it went swimmingly. It was beautiful. A great gig. We loved every second of it.
We loved it. It was so well organized.
And it was fine. But I get it. I get what you're saying, because you sit there in the background and you're thinking, oh, Jesus, how many things could go wrong? There are hundreds and hundreds of things that can go wrong. But the minute you let that take over you and make it the all-consuming thing in your head, that's when you start running into your own anxieties, your own troubles, your own hassle. So you've got to turn around and think, okay, 100 things can go wrong, but 200 things have gone right already. And you're going to deal with that. Today's been a particularly good day for us because we've been speaking to Doro, well, not personally Doro, but Doro's tour manager, who's just sent us over the paperwork that they need to get their Brexit visa, whatever hell it is, and all we need is your signature, and we're on our way. Planes are becoming, you know, we'll be booking the planes, and that literally happened. Well,
a few hours ago,
a couple of hours ago. So
when something like that happens, you just forget about 10 other things that have gone slightly wrong.
Yeah, you take those moments, and yes, come on, it's gonna happen.
I think that's a great point, that, because a lot of people who don't know the behind the scenes about all the paperwork, the logistics, that's just one band, one artist, one person sorting all that out, and then you've got the other 20 bands who could be asking you all the same questions, throwing things at you left, right, and centre, going, "Have you done this? What we need this sorting for you," and stuff like that. Like, so, I have an easy answer to that, Ian.
when anybody that doesn't reside in mainland Britain contacts me and wants me to do a tour for them or anything like that, I go, no, we don't touch that, mate.
That's one way of dealing with it.
I'm already white-haired enough.
I like the way you just looked then, Zhany. You was like that going.
Lessons well learned. Lessons learned.
He was here. His hair was virtually black 2 years ago.
Yeah, but it's still fun. That's one of the things that we sort of take away. Sometimes when we've had a particularly stressful day and we think, oh God, where do we turn next? You just sort of sit down and chat for a while and go, come on, this this is fun. This is going to be a fun thing. We do this because we enjoy it. We do it because it's what we like. It's what we believe in. It's what revs us up. It's what makes us excited in the morning.
One thing that's changed. One thing that's changed from the last couple of years is we now have, I mean, I know when we last spoke, we had it as well, but now it's even better. The team that helps us organize, they have come together and we've had our doubts and we've had our moments of fear and we've had all this anxiety, and mental health has been in the focus of many conversations over the lockdown for that reason. And these guys and girls, they have been so supportive. You know, it's just a simple thing like sending a message out to the group saying, we're going to go talk to the stage and lighting crew today and we're expecting a quote. Oh my God, how much is it going to be? And they all rally and they say, oh, you'll smash it, guys. Come on, you'll do it. It will be all right. It's things like that that make it easier and more bearable. It's not a one-man job list.
Absolutely. It means a lot to us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how you start with an event like yours. You know, I do them in a much smaller way. I guess one of the things is, like, I do most of it myself on the promotion side, you know, until we get there. So all the planning and the execution is me. So what I would like to ask you about is, obviously you have to work with a lot of other members of the team. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine whilst that's good, it can also bring in a different thought pattern to your head, different worries as well. Can you talk us through that, please? You know what that's like.
Will you go first? I'll say what I think.
The worries with a team and with everything is because there are so many aspects to a show such as this, and God only knows what is involved in the big ones, you know, because that's insane. But the fact, I think, one thing that sort of dumbs down these problems or sort of makes these problems less is that as a team, we've become not just a team, we're mates. We're proper mates, even people that we didn't know so well. I mean, we got some guy on our core team who lives in Sweden. Now
he's Scottish.
I know him. Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny lives in Sweden. He's Scottish, but even though he isn't physically there, you can feel that he's a mate. He's just part of that group of team. And if anything was to just go wrong, if somebody hasn't got their little bit of it completely right, like with mates, you can sit down, you can go on here and look, mate, see that thing you did? Messed it up a bit. And then a bit later, somebody can come to us and like, Steve, Zhany, you posted this out. It's been out for 2 weeks and it's got a spelling mistake. Like, come on, guys, get up your game, for crying out loud. And we're like, okay.
We get told off by them, we do.
we sort of tell each other off like mates would. And that results in nobody really gets in a bit of a huff and nobody goes storming off and the difficulties that we have, the mistakes we make, because everybody makes a mistake somewhere along the line where they're doing something like this. It kind of just, we ride the storm, and the following day we get a thumbs up. Yeah, that thing, I sorted it. Brilliant, well done.
Yeah.
And we kind of trust that we're all on a bit of a learning curve.
Oh yeah.
Because Rockin The Bowl is a new festival. You know, all right, this is only its second year of actual production, third year of possibility, but last year, never mind. And so we're still all learning, but at least we're good mates learning together, and everybody's passionate about what they're doing, and everybody has got a sense of, I suppose, duty, for use of a better word.
Yeah, there is that.
To the festival, not to us, and we ain't got it to them, it's
no.
to the show. It makes a big difference.
Although some of them do call me headmistress, which I quite like.
That's just you.
No, that's honesty.
It's funny, really, because obviously we're teachers in our day jobs, so that's what makes it funny.
I think we sort of long-windedly answered your question, John. How do you overcome these difficulties with team members? They're mates, and we overcome the difficulty as mates.
I think that's a core element. We used to do it in the army. It was about even with people that you actually maybe weren't mates with and would never choose them to be your mates, but you also had a focus, you had your main effort, which was whatever you were trying to achieve, and you knew you could only achieve that with the right people. I mean, I'm at that stage where we're quite small in reality, but there is an element with me, even though I went through all that with military training and all that, so I know how it works. There's an element of just bring in other people and they don't get what we stand for, and that's kind of the thing. It's that you need to make sure that anybody you recruit understands the ethos, what it is you're trying to achieve, and buys into it. And then it's all, I would imagine, then it's making sure you've got the key performance indicators that makes you realize, the things that flag up, the little red flags that come up saying, wait a minute, this isn't quite going the way it should be going.
It's really down to common sense, most of it. Now, the organization of something like that, you have to be critical about yourself. You have to look at yourself and say, where am I not doing really well? And then look at that part of the organization and say, well, what can we do about that? So, for example, you mentioned, and I'm sure you agree, getting people to actually come to the gig, so promoting the gig, which is not easy. And there's many gigs out there which are worthy of ticket sales, and many of them don't get those ticket sales. Some of them do. And you look at that and you say, we need to strengthen that up. So you can either get another person to join the team who is passionate about that, or you can find more time, which is usually very difficult, or you can restructure the members that you already have in the team to do things slightly differently. And this is kind of what we did, isn't it, with social media. So we started off with 2 people who were sort of on equal, I don't mean it like that, who were doing all of the things together. So the Facebook group, the Facebook page, the Instagram and the Twitter. And then we realized one of them is happier doing big posts and engaging with people, and the other one is happier doing Instagram. So we kind of, they kind of naturally assumed those positions, and we realized, well, yes, that's exactly what we should have done from the start. And then another person joined the team and said, well, I want to do some of that. That's what I'm good at. Sure, yeah, okay. Talk to them too. See what they already know. Let them tell you how things are. And we'll adapt from there. So it's really flexible and quickly changing, really. But once you have the right formula, you just keep replicating that.
Is there any point where you look at, so once you've deputized and given things like social media, we've had it a bit in the Forge Music Group, which is the format you put things out in and the message you want to put out. And I tried it a little bit, and Ian's had this with King Voodoo as well. I know he has, where you get other people to do other elements of social media, and they're either not very good at it, or they put things out in a way that isn't quite how you would want your business represented. That must be a bit of a worry as well.
It can be. There's a sort of obviously we will give people autonomy to do something if they're good at it, if they've got some kind of aptitude for this.
You can't micromanage people. It really pisses them off.
you go ahead and let them do it, but we have our structure behind us. an example. I'm not going to give you details of this example, but I got a phone call from one of our guys today saying, Steve, I've just had a quote and it's massively overpriced. And then he gave me the quote, and my jaw hit the floor like, no way, absolutely no way.
We're not doing that.
What do you think's going on here? Like, well, I think what's happened is they've been 2 years without work, and they're just trying to make an extra couple of thousand off us.
A couple.
Yeah, well, all right. I said we weren't going to go into detail. An extortionate amount of money from us, and then he was out of his depth a little bit on that one, because he is amazingly good at what he does, but money is not his forte. I mean, they come to us for the money because we pay the bills. And so I had to say, right, okay, here's what you're going to say, here's what you're going to tell him. And if you can't come to any kind of conclusion with this, you drop it, I'll step in. And so, you know, we're sort of like troubleshooters for these sorts of things. So if we see any member of the team who is not happy where they are, or they're struggling and they don't want to say anything because we're all mates, because we're all, then we do have to sort of have that slight bit of authority to say, right,
this is how it is.
It's not working the way we want it to. Let's stamp on this one. And it's 10 times out of 10. It's not our team. It's they're dealing with something that an outside factor that they can't deal with. I'm not saying we can deal with everything. But we'll give it a go. Yeah, we've been out of our depth many times, but you have to put on that face where you've got that confidence to pick up the phone and say, right, you know, I'm the boss, and this is how it's going to work. And they will usually come to a little bit of a compromise, and you do, and it kind of works out.
You know what? It makes perfect sense, though. Like, you know what I mean? Because I do something similar in my day job, which is one of those things. Like, and you need your subject matter experts who know their own little area really well. They can focus on it, but sometimes they just need that arm around them just to say, try it this way. If it doesn't work, let me show you how I do it. So next time when you pick it up, you know what you're doing and what you've got to say, and follow those examples. I have got a question for you, obviously, and I've got a few, which is normal. Obviously, Boris came out and said everyone can go and mingle and stuff like that, and you guys went dead excited, as we all were, because it meant that we could come to festivals, we can do everything. What has changed for safety reasons? Have you been? I've got to ask it because a lot of people are most probably going to be concerned. They're going to be worried, and it's one of them where, have you increased the safety precautions? Have you looked at it from? Have you revisited it? And what do you think? Is there been much change, or are you quite confident with what you've got in place?
I think I'll answer that one. If that's okay. So there's a sort of a three-sided answer to this. First of all, in Sheffield, we've just had tram lines last weekend, which was a pilot event, and it was with hardly any security measures. Let's put it that way. There were some, but not many.
Okay.
And kudos to the local council for having the, I suppose, the readiness to do this, because balls, that's the word. Yeah, that's it. Because it's not easy with the amount of criticism there is on social media out in public to put on something like that and do it well. And from what we saw, it went well. Time will tell, but it went well. And people were extremely happy, and the feeling around Sheffield was just, I don't know, there was this level of positivity which we hadn't seen for 2 years, and it was wonderful to see. So let's hope that nothing really bad has come of it. And we, as organizers of a public event and other organizers of public events, we are looking at them very closely and checking what's gonna happen now. And we've been looking at all the events that have gone ahead so far, small and big, and taking note of that. And so far, it's again, there is a need for some measures. So the second part of my answer is that the council have been very supportive of us throughout all of this, which I don't think can be said for some other councils, unfortunately. And we've seen that not so long ago with one major festival not being able to go ahead, but that's by the by. I hope they go ahead next year just fine. So they've asked from us to put in writing all the measures that we're thinking of taking in an addendum to our event plan, which we have done. So it used to be 94 pages, now it's 124. So it took some doing. Yeah, and we did that. We wrote it out. We sat down, we thought about it, we talked about it. Common sense and a bit of research produced a good, workable, affordable plan. But on top of that, we've decided that by September, hopefully things will be much better. And a lot of these things in this event plan won't need to be implemented. But there are still certain measures that we are definitely implementing, however this pans out, such as, for example, we have hired an equipment sanitizing unit.
UV.
A UV sanitizing one. It's very complicated. It's got loads of technical information, but it's basically what I understand from it. It's very good. It does it in 30 seconds. So as a result of that, we don't have to have double the mics, double the stands, all these things that are in contact. And it's quite large, so it can fit a lot of things in it. And then there's electrostatic sprays, and then there's loads of sanitizing wipes, loads of gel. So these are the things that we're going to do regardless. And I think it's down to the individual attendees to protect each other as well. You can't be just, oh, here I am, completely unprotected. You do all the work. No, we're a bit more smart than that, aren't we, the rock community? Really.
You know what? I totally agree with you. I think it's a family, and they do look after each other, and you can see that. And I think it is key, like, you know what I mean, that we do help each other out during these periods while we are trying to help. Like, you know, we all want to be like, you know, watch. We all want to hear live music again, and the only way to do that is help each other out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it was only about a week, maybe a week or two. I don't remember. A lot of things happened very quickly at the moment. It was about a couple of weeks ago that I made a public statement, or we made a public statement, more to the point of what our intentions were for COVID, and everybody took it exactly well. Everybody said, yeah, good, sensible things going on there. But there was a couple people who weren't happy with it. Now, that's always going to happen.
Yes.
But I think what it was, you know, we were talking earlier about mistakes being made. It was my mistake because I didn't make it clear enough. I put out a public statement on social media that this is our stance as it stands today. This is how we are today. Fully aware of the fact that it could be something completely different in 2 weeks' time. Even though we're coming out of COVID, we still don't actually know how things are going to pan out. So we're saying, as it happens right here, right now, we won't be asking you to do compulsory tests on the gate.
No.
But once you get through that gate, the amount of precautions that we are taking should ensure everybody's safety. But my mistake was I didn't say clear enough, but this could change at any time. It could go from anything from great, we're all safe, to all the way through to the worst possible scenario of sorry guys, see you in 2022. If any of these are still possible. And most people kind of took it at face value and understood that this is how things are right here, right now, as the way we see it in September.
And that's why having a good social media team is so important, because close to the event, there's going to be a lot of people asking questions, and you need to have enough people there answering those questions, because you don't want somebody being concerned about their safety or their children or whatever, and nobody saying anything to them. So that's why it's important to keep your social media updated and up to date and constantly.
There are the things that we've done, the things that other festivals have done, the ones that are lucky enough, and it has been pretty much pot luck in a lot of times to still be going ahead. there's pros and cons to every single one of the approaches that we've seen. We're going to Rock and Blues this weekend. Tomorrow, we're setting off tomorrow, and we're going to have a great time. But obviously, on the gate, they're going to say, right, okay, double jab proof or negative test proof. And half the people responded with, great, brilliant. An extra 10 minutes on the gate, and then we can do what we want. Fantastic. And the other half, like, that's ruined my entire weekend. I'm not doing that. That's a disgrace. And point being is, you simply can't, you can't preempt what's going to happen still.
Yeah. And
also, whatever you do choose to do, there will be people who don't want it. So it's kind of a bit of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But we're doing the best we can. And once people get inside that arena, bands and fans and staff alike will be well protected once they get in. We can't say anything more than that at the moment.
I think one of the things that COVID has done for me has made me realise, which if I wasn't sure before, just how many stupid people there are in the world.
You say how it is, and that is true.
You know, honestly, no common sense. No, you know, it's like, for God's sake, guys, you know, if you feel that unsafe, don't come.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you feel, we will do everything we can to make sure that the event, and then you get the ones that's, we just want it to be like a normal gig. If I have to take a test to prove this, I'm not coming. Well, don't come.
But we can't take that risk. You could infect 20 people.
Yeah.
We are currently taking tests every morning in the run up to Rock and Blues, because we're not idiots. And even though we've both been vaccinated with both doses, we realize that you can still pass it on. So just to be on the safe side, we're taking the tests every morning, and we'll continue throughout Rock and Blues. And if something happens, we will go home, whether we like it or not.
So what happens? Because this, I would guarantee this is maybe not maybe not by the time you're doing yours, but I would say there's a high chance that quite a few of your bands are not going to be able to make it.
It's the only one, isn't it?
So what in a situation like that, what can you do?
Well, you can only do what you do. I mean, Steelhouse suffered that with the Black Spiders just last weekend. Unfortunately, the guys had to do it. And here in Sheffield, over tramlines, the Corporation nightclub,
the long-awaited opening of the club.
You know, the entire thing was cancelled because two of the bands came down with COVID. Members had COVID. As far as we're concerned, we have bands in the wings, a lot of them, even if they are bands that are, let's say, destined for 2022, and we have to bring them forward and fill that gap. Most of the people understand. Most of the people get it. You know, it's like, okay, band A, band B, I'm really sorry. I know it's massively short notice, maybe even announced from the stage on the day. They're not going to be here, but someone will. Someone will be there, and you'll still get your rock and roll.
I think that's it. And when you get these idiots that give it that's ruined it because so and so couldn't make it, and then we got another band that we don't particularly like. Get this. The festival isn't for you. You know, we don't run it for you. We run it for many more people. You know, and I think that's the thing that, for God's sake, guys, anybody that's watching this, if you're going to go to a festival or a gig and that happens, be grown up about it. You know, don't start going on the Facebook pages giving it large about, I so wanted to see Doro and then she wasn't there, or at the end of the day, you might end up with Nick at a sour tusk. There's not a lot of difference anyway.
I would say Doro has got the edge on the looks.
Well, I don't know. I don't think Nick would accept that.
Nick, if you're listening, you can call me personally. I don't mind.
You know, John, you were saying that during the pandemic, you've noticed a lot of people with a lot of stupid things that they've done, and I agree with you. But just to be fair, I've also noticed a huge number of people who have been so much kinder to each other, like considerably kinder than usual, and people giving you a lot more time to sort things out, a lot more patience, a lot more tolerance, a lot more willing to change things and be more flexible. So there's plenty of morons, we can all agree on that, but I would say, well, that's probably just because I'm an optimist, but the majority of people have really stepped up. And
Oh,
I think it's brought the best out in people.
I think what I was referring to was common sense more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
That a common sense approach, and common sense doesn't seem to be something that a lot of people have, as many people have got. You know, I seen when I was a kid, and I thought most adults now were quite sensible, but it appears we've kind of lost that a lot. But yeah, you're right, and I think it has meant that a lot of people are more tolerant.
Yes.
Until they don't get their own way, and then they're not.
It's weird because you and I are clearly from slightly different generations, right? Not just a fact. And you've got a point of comparison and I don't. And maybe it looks less, less common sense, less this, that. And I get it, because also you're more mature, etc., and you're looking for certain behavior and certain way of thinking. But with no point of comparison, I quite like the way people are these days. I think they're all right. They're not bad at all. Really, especially in our community, in the rock community, they're just as nice as I think they've ever been. Saying this boldly with no point of comparison, right?
Oh yeah. I think to be, yeah, I agree. I think rock family is a different thing altogether. I'm talking more about when people want to use COVID for political reasons.
Oh yeah.
Score and total. I wasn't actually referring to much,
yeah.
but and then you're always going to get the naysayers. The one that's disappointed because so and so couldn't make it because they happened to get COVID. But they are very much a minority. I think it's just I was generalising really, not.
Yeah, I know.
We always, but I haven't thought about it. I mean, even before COVID, we always used to have these minorities, and they were a minority. You get people, and it's not annoying. Sometimes it's quite funny. You listen to it, and social media has made this so much more prominent than it ever used to be.
Yeah.
You'll get people, and let's use Iron Maiden for an example, and say, "Oh, Iron Maiden are doing their new tour. Well, I'm not going to see them. Why not? Because they're not playing Saxelby, Lincolnshire." No disrespect to Saxelby, but so yes, but they're playing 40 miles down the road. No, they've forgotten about the small people. And yes, I remember going to see him, and it cost me £1.50. Yeah, but your wages were £6 a week.
Yeah, but
it's a bit expensive now. But come on, guys, it's.
That is something that I think there is a lot of. I can't remember who it was. But somebody last week announced a tour, and the first thing they got was getting slated for not going to some of the places that they used to go when they were a smaller band. Like, come on, when you start off as a band, play the local fecking pub, won't you? It could hold 30 people, but by the time you're big enough for bookers to be actually booking your venues, then you have to do that. And then Mason Hill have been getting some grief over the last couple of days because they've rescheduled the Irish side of the tour, and they're getting pelters on social media. I'm like,
seriously?
Oh yeah, they're getting slaughtered by some people.
Oh, come on. Be more tolerant. Exactly what we were talking about. Things change at the moment.
Just to throw a curveball in though, I do like this sort of stuff. Steel Panther turned up at a local pub in the States and played there, and it was one of them where people were just like, it's Steel Panther, what I mean? And I do admit that every now and then, big massive bands should do that. Go to a local pub and just not unannounced and just play it. Just to I think it'd be awesome.
Absolutely agree.
We keep badgering them, to be honest.
That's it. Play the little festivals and look how big you are. Yeah, I agree 100%. It works both ways.
I remember you sent someone a letter recently, didn't you? Who was it?
No, it wasn't recently. Some time ago. But, a classic example is Def Leppard here in Sheffield. There's a pub from the 70s and 80s in Sheffield called the Wapentake. I mean, Def Leppard used to just hang out and drink there, and then when they were a super huge multinational American sounding band, when they were that kind of a band, they came over with some acoustic guitars and played in the Wapentake. And when they turned up, the manager was actually away on holiday or not available, and the guy behind the bar wouldn't let him in. There's nobody booked in here, so they had to do the "do you know who we are" thing.
Oh, no way. Seriously.
Yeah, they were stood outside trying to find the phone number of the manager to be let in to play the gig, and this is Def Leppard, big Def Leppard, not, you know, once they become superstars. So yeah, they still do it. It's and I remember when they came on stage as a support of themselves, that they created a spoof band and didn't tell anybody and opened up for themselves. And they went on stage and completely slated Def Leppard, saying how crap they were and everybody should leave because they've sold out and you can't trust them anymore. And
Oh, I love it.
you've got to be able to still retain that sort of sense of humor and that a little bit of that not forgetting where you are. That even if you're in top hotel rooms, even if you're selling millions per record, it should be fun for the band just to go and jump in there.
Yeah, you could just imagine the guy that was standing in as the manager of that pub. He's giving it I daren't, because if the real manager finds out, I'll get sacked.
I bet you there's pictures behind the bar of all of them.
I'm sure.
Just turn around and have a look.
Yeah. Oh, love it. So tell me then, I mean, obviously you've been through a couple of gigs since COVID, the release, and I'm not going to drop names. Don't want to give the big guy next to us an ego, but obviously anything stand out for you? Did you tell us about what was your experience like?
Ego can remain intact because Smoke on the Water was fantastic. Loved it.
Without talking about it, we both agree.
Some of the bands that John has are sterling bands. I was personally blown away by Circa 66. That was just fun. Bang! Like, wow, I did not expect that. What a cool band. Outlaw Orchestra, obviously,
we love them.
They're on the top of their game, as they always were.
Yeah, of course.
And the other one that stood out for me was Sons of Liberty in London. Went to a small pub, The Cavern, originally owned by a Liverpool guy, who's sort of tried to recreate The Cavern. No offence to him. It was slightly too much above ground for my liking to be The Cavern. But great gig, fantastic gig. The Sons just pulled out all the stops. A band who will play just as hard for 20 people. How many were there? It's probably about 60 people, I would say. 60, 600, 6,000.
Performance, really.
Same rules. And
one band that stood out to me this weekend at Tramlines, because we saw quite a few bands on that, and I saw some friends, so no disrespect for them, I love their music. I'm just talking about something that caught my attention because I've never seen them before. Stellaris, what a voice! It was great. I really enjoyed it, listened to it. I hadn't seen them before and really, really enjoyed it.
Well, we saw them at Real Time Live when we were invited. Yes, we did. But we didn't see them at a gig in front of an audience in the Raw, hot and sweaty.
You know, I may have been away for that bit because I went to talk to Tina because I would have remembered that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was quite. You would have remembered them, Zhany, for the simple fact is that they came wandering on stage, and apart from the singer, the rest of them looked like they were there to paint the place because they had like dungarees and hoodies. And I remember Matt Nathan, who was doing the filming, kind of looking at me out the side of his eye and looking at me as if to say, "What the fucking hell are these?" You know. and he's like looking and he's going, they can't be a rock band.
They can't be the band.
The singer come bouncing out, and then all of a sudden this wall of sound came out, and Matt looked to me, he turned and looked straight at me and went, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, exactly.
They are.
That reminds me, a few years ago when the Outlaw Orchestra were still with their previous banjo player. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name. Sorry about that.
Steve, I think.
Possibly. No, I'm not sure. I'll have to check. But anyway, he always used to wear just Adidas tracky bottoms and trainers on stage. And then we met his dad, and it all made sense after that.
Well, it was quite funny because when Stellaris signed to Forge Ahead Initiative, they sent over some photos, and I went to Tina and I says, Tina, you're gonna have to have a word with them. They're in the photos. They're kind of rock metal band, crossover band, and they're wearing kind of anoraks. So Tina had a kind of word with them, and she came back to me and she said, "It's all right, boss. I've had a word with them." I says, "All right." So then they turned up at Real Time Live to do the video, and they still were wearing anoraks and that. And I thought, well, that fell in deaf ears. And then I saw the effect that they had because people underestimated. I turned to Tina and says, "Next time I come to you and say anything like that, tell me to piss off, Tina."
Valuable tool, the art of surprise.
Oh yeah.
Can I bring up a topic that is not very nice, but I think it has to be addressed?
Go for it.
Over the last few months, there's been a thing on social media which really pisses me off. And I've had to deal with it again and again and again. And I think bands should be aware of that. So it's something that they really need to be careful about. Fake events.
Yes, that's a very good point, because I believe
it's just been
guys were hit by one.
Bane of everybody's life, that. And the people who are doing it are in it because A, they just want the clicks on their page, I'm not sure because I don't know them, or B, because they're planning to then post a link later on near the event so people can click on it and they could possibly get their bank details. I don't know what the reason is. That's just my assumption. But it's certainly looking that way, because what was the biggest, was it the New Wave of Classic Rock, one of the lives? No, it was, anyway, there was a live show throughout lockdown and they were everywhere. And everybody, after a while, clocked onto it and said, these are fake, don't click on them. But how many people would have already clicked on those links before realizing? So I do have some very practical advice for bands, because I've had to deal with it a few times. If you get invited to host an event, to co-host an event, check who the organizer of this event is. It's very simple to do. So in our case, if we invite a band to co-host our event, it will be invited by Rockin The Bowl, not online ticket promotions or online event or some other generic bullshit name like that. It will be the name of the actual promoter that you're booked with. And if that's not the case, and if it's not that, don't decline it. Contact your promoter, let them know, and they will help you. What's the best thing to do is accept that invitation. And then after you've accepted it, you now have admin rights on that event on Facebook, and you can delete the event, and that keeps everybody safe. So accept the co-hosting, go into the event, go into the settings of the event on the 3 dots and select delete event.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually,
and that's how you do that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Not to confuse those with the genuine people out there who are co-hosting and showing your event with your permission. It's good that you mentioned that. We've had to try and get rid of about 6 now.
They're like fleas.
There's 6 for us, most of them from abroad.
Some Polish page.
But we've had everything. There was one advertising that our event will be videoed live, and they can watch it and free, and they can watch it on their page.
Click on this link.
Click on this link to watch Rockin The Bowl free. You don't have to go. You can watch it through us, which obviously we're not any part of that. So now we've got to have somebody looking out somewhere in the audience for somebody intently trying to video it that isn't authorized to do so,
as well as dealing with the social media side of things.
And then we got another one who said that it's free to enter, just turn up and you can just go in. This is a free event.
Click on this link to buy your free ticket.
Anybody who falls for that is going to turn up at the gate. They might have booked hotels, they might have done 100 things. And
so these things are genuinely dangerous. They're not just a joke. They shouldn't be taken lightly. The other thing is, sorry.
No, I was just going to say definitely not, because obviously I work, and I think that one of the biggest issues that you do see are the joys of people who are doing horrendous things, and I mean that because they're just scum of the earth.
They
Where
are.
they take
They are.
young people, they send
They-
phishing emails, they lock things down for you,
Yeah.
and it just causes headaches, heartache.
And some people are not
Okay.
tech savvy, you know. Some people are just not tech savvy. They take things for what they are. Oh, Rockin The Bowl, great. We're going to that event. I'll click on this link. And before you know it, so we need to protect those people, but the bands themselves can really help by getting on board with this and understanding what's the best thing to do. I had one band that I approached, I explained this whole situation to them, and they just removed themselves from the event, which is fine. I appreciate the time and effort, but it's not enough. It's not enough because they could have shut this down.
Yeah, I think it's much better to take a positive action than just hide away from it and run away from it.
Sure.
If it's as simple as that to do, which obviously it will be, then that's what you do. And I think it's the onus is on all of us to whistleblow. So
Absolutely.
for the first thing, and by whistleblow, I don't mean tell people. I mean, warn people. But if you can take positive action that actually stops it in its tracks, then that's what we all should be doing.
And
We
there's
got-
another point. There is another point as well. If you're ever unsure, people, don't be afraid to reach out and ask the guys, because they'll tell you straight. If it's not genuine, they'll be the first ones to go,
Exactly. Yeah.
don't click on it. So reach out to us, like, you know what I mean? Don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
We're all there to help. And as we've been saying, the rock community is there to support each other.
We're mostly made up of intelligent people, and I'm sure it's just that simple lack of knowledge at this point. But I think this will become a bit more common with all the online events that were being hosted. I think this is where this came from, and we can all do something to stop it.
The funny thing is, the first thing bands will say to me is, when are you putting a Facebook event up? And in actual fact, they're almost obsolete now. They're almost fucking useless and pointless because the reach from them is that it's outgrown itself. I'm almost tempted these days to just not bother with it because, you know, if you reach out there, it's so poor from it. You know, it really is. Unless you individually invite people.
Yeah.
Do you know what though, John?
You can do.
John, one of my mates actually pinged me the other day, and we were talking about this. Did you know that you can get your page locked down by Facebook by spamming people?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So if you over invite your event and it gets registered as spammed, they can actually close your page down.
Yeah.
Unless of course you're willing to pay Facebook.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it is the irony of it. You're trying to get your name out there, you're trying to promote it, and then you get closed down because you're trying to do a job.
It is a bit of a minefield out there, and it's getting harder.
Oh, 100%.
Definitely having to become quite creative to continue to get your name out there. I mean, we've been fortunate and we've been hardworking at the same time, and so we've got a reasonably good presence out there. But
For the scale of our event.
yeah, for anybody who's just going to come into it blind and just say, I'll start something, I'll start an event, I'll start a gig, I'll start a festival, completely blind, you've got one hell of a job on your hands. I mean, John, you know, you've got your presence, but you've seen these things, you've done it, you know the score now.
You're right.
It's longer than we have. You know.
You're right, Steve. It's I've been putting out posts non-stop about the gigs this weekend. It's coming up this weekend, and the reach for them, the individual reach for them, is terrible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you do, and even when you pay, you do a post through PayPal and you pay for it, and you drill down into this is the target audience, this is where we want it, this is the type. You still the return on the investment is still piss poor. We're going to end up having to go back to the old days.
Yeah.
Posters up running about the town, handing out leaflets, which you do as a festival anyway, but I'm talking about even for your local gig, because you'll not be able to rely on super duper Facebook anymore to get you anywhere.
That's right. Under the window screen in the car park of bigger gigs. That's how it used to be done.
But you've got to admit though, one thing that I do miss is, remember when you used to go to, like, you know, download or what I'd call the Monsters of Rock?
Yep.
You get a ticket with all the artwork on, and it looked amazing. But
Oh,
you go and see Aerosmith and
hold
like,
on, I'll get one.
oh, you see, this is
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. We have our tickets, and we made the tickets look good instead of just.
collectible. It's got to be a collectible.
Yeah, I mean, we've got we printed more tickets than we need. We know that, but if you don't play as if you're doing something big, then you're not going to do something big. So we printed loads of tickets. We're not going to use them all up. And in the early days, we used one of the ticketing agents, like we used Skiddle, and we're still on Skiddle's book, and we still do things through them, but we're also doing our own. But the Skiddle tickets are just, it's an email. Show the email, there you go. So when everybody goes out, all the spare tickets will just be there. Here, have a ticket, just take it out and put it in your scrapbook, put it on your wall, because they like it. You know, people remember those old school tickets that look good. So, you know, we
Exactly.
they still look good.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want something where you can actually, like, you know, most of us are memorabilia whores where we just pick up everything and we go, I was there, I've got this, I've got that.
But it's funny enough you mentioned that. One of our bands that's just signed with us from up in Scotland are doing some gigs up in Scotland. They're promoting it themselves because they set it up when they were with a previous management company. So one of the guys messaged me yesterday or the day before. He said, John, can you have a look on this Facebook post? Because a guy is complaining because we're not doing printed tickets. And I said, and I'm like, well, you just put a thing in there saying that it's because paper tickets are more dangerous with COVID and all of that, and handling it, and the fact is it's saving trees and all this sort of stuff. But I must admit, and even though I've got a box with my tickets for the 1970s and 80s, you're right, actually. I never even thought, I'll be honest, I never even thought about why not create some tickets and then do it the e-ticket way. But when they come, give them one of the tickets as a memento. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
I did not even think about that. That's a good way. I like that. So I've learned something. Way.
I mean, we you know, it's the same as everybody. We get that not every single gig can do that. With our outdoor orchestra that we're doing in conjunction with 4Jam, that is an e-ticket, because for that volume of tickets, it's just it eats into your profits, which are basically nothing anyway, because we just want to give the profits to the bands, to the and to as many people as we can. But for small events, but for a big festival and ours, it's, you know, it's something that people would like. It's something that people can take away, pin on the wall, and go. We've got a supporter of ours, Steve Cooper. He's a great guy. He is a gig goer. That's what he does. He just goes to gigs, and every single day he has a ticket for a gig of that day. For some time, somewhere in the past, and he posts them up like, oh, this day in 1996, and there's his ticket. Every single day he's got one. Cool. I thought, geez, that's dedication. But without the tickets, he couldn't have done that. It was no good him saying, oh, I went and saw The Darkness 5 years ago. You're all right.
Yeah, no, you can see it's called Facebook memory. 5 years ago, I was doing that, and look at the state of me there.
You back it up with Photoshop, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Are you guys actually in talks with the big bands for 2022 already?
We are indeed.
I'm glad you brought us onto that subject. Yes, we are. Yeah, we have probably half the lineup already booked in or penciled in, including 2 out of the 3 headliners.
That's impressive.
We don't like to waste time.
Well, you think COVID and the recent things have changed things a lot as far as booking. And I'd go back a year and nobody would take a single booking anywhere because nothing was happening. Now it's difficult to pin bands down because everything is going to be happening. They're all back out there and they're all wanting shows. And so you really got to get in and jump in and get them before unfortunately, before somebody else does.
And can I just ask Steve as well, and I'm obviously not asking for names, but have the demands gone up as well because they're trying to recoup money because they know that?
Yes, definitely.
I've learned something.
There's bands who are just want to be out there and want to gig again, and there's bands like previous, which I mentioned somebody else who overcharged us for something or tried to. There are bands that are out there making insane demands because they, you know, it's a bit like that when the housing market was, you know, really high and everybody was competing for the house, so the seller can just do what they want, like, yeah, up it, or this gazumping thing. Is that still a word, gazumping? I don't know, probably.
Not anymore, because
Yeah,
you can't do it anymore.
Well, trust me, it's coming back and it's here and alive and well in the rock industry. But having said that, I would like to ask your permission to exclusively name 3 2022 bands
For the first
right
time.
now.
Go for it,
You
mate.
don't have to ask any permission from us. You guys are welcome to do anything you want on our show.
So absolutely, the very first announcement of a 2022 band will be
Drum roll.
the absolute talent that is Mr. Jack J. Hutchinson,
Whee!
going to be on the bill. The second announcement, somebody we saw in London with Mr. P.K. Malley, will be Verity White.
Oh,
Who's gonna be
she's
there.
awesome.
And Ian, are you going to announce the third one?
King Voodoo will be playing Rockin the Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I am. I didn't know if I could say it, like, but yeah, that was made up when you said that. I was like,
Yes,
So
yes.
there you go. There's the first 3. We can expect some quite big names high up the bill. We can expect some Forge Ahead initiative bands somewhere on the bill, and we can expect all the usual suspects
And of course,
along the line.
all the Sheffield bands as well that have been relentlessly in supporting us throughout all of this.
Yeah, never to be forgotten, those Sheffield bands, because like every city in this country and across the world, there is unknown talent out there.
And that includes Barnsley as well.
Well, let's not go too far. I'm joking, yeah. Sheffield and South Yorkshire, there's some incredible talent sat out there just playing pubs. We want to bring them out of those pubs and try and just help them to get a wider audience from somebody who's never heard of them before.
You're spot on, because every week when I do my radio show, there's bands, I'm getting sent band stuff, or I find band stuff, or bands contact me, and I just keep going, why the hell have I never heard of this band? Why the hell have I never heard of this band? That's fucking amazing. Why have I never heard? And it's and you know, I listen back to my shows and go, and this is a band I'm playing for the first time. Why have I not heard them? And I think, I keep saying this, but it's true. And there are, you know, in Sheffield alone, some of the bands that have come up that I've never heard of, like Bone Broke Kings and people like that, and they're bloody amazing. You know, and but this brings me to my last thing that I want to talk about is, you mentioned it before, that all the bands are wanting to go out there. So there's actually going to be far too much competition and not enough fans to go around. I'm not talking festivals here because they don't tend to clash, but gigs wise, it's a nightmare, and it's already happening. Now, one of the things that we all need to do, and this is one of the things that I'm working on currently, and this weekend and this Saturday, we're bringing in under 14s into the court because we can, and we're giving away free tickets through the Forge Ahead Initiative for people between the ages of 14 and 17. And it's this next gen rock thing. We bloody need to do it, because we can't keep going to the well and adding the amount of buckets we're trying to put into it, because eventually we're running out of water and somebody's going to go thirsty. And that's the problem we've got. Nobody, well, not saying nobody, but not enough people are focusing on getting more attention for the rock metal market and trying to get people that haven't a clue what it's about, can't see it anywhere, unless somebody opens up and does it. And I think that's a key element, because if we don't expand our market, we're actually going to kill ourselves.
Yeah, completely agree with you. It is actually something I wanted to talk about earlier. It's great that we've come to that again. We've had quite a few inquiries from people saying, oh, is it okay to bring the kids? How much is the ticket? It's like, no, we're not going to charge for kids. Don't be silly. Just bring them along, show them the music. They're not going to drink at the bar. I realize that. It's, you know, but the facilities that are there for them, make them excited. We don't want to put a fair up. We don't want them to go away and go to the fair. We want them to see the bands. And yeah, it can be a bit boring for a 10-year-old to spend 12 hours in front of a stage. But if that one song or that one band touches them and just lights a little fire, it's amazing. I don't know if you saw last year, there was this awesome photo, and this little kid with his little denim cut off and his ear protectors, loved it. And we were going to put it on the website, but unfortunately the web developer said it doesn't fit the space, which was really disappointing. But I'm sure we'll come up with a way to make it up to him, because he was so excited. And then there's this other kid, isn't it, with the massive wagons tickets? Yeah.
It's about, as far as I know, you know, I'm not an expert. I don't have the answers. If I did, we, you know, if sat here, if we had all these answers, things would be much better for us. So, but we don't. So we do what we can. But the younger generation, as you say, that the bands are out there, but you often go to a gig with the average age of the band is 17, 18-year-old, and the average age of the audience is 50. And you know there's something wrong here. Yeah. And this is something that, as you say, John, needs to be fixed somehow, but it's getting that exposure is virtually impossible. So what we're trying to do is, for our little bit of it, is to try and make it everything appealing to the youngsters who come. Anyone under 14 is free, okay. They'll have rock and roll parents, but it doesn't mean the kids will go the same way. It's not guaranteed. So what we're doing is making it as interactive as possible. Yeah. We're having a junior air guitar competition. All the kids will be on the main stage. Yeah. They'll be there with a guitar in hand. They may not even know the song that they're playing along to. And we'll get judges and they'll get a little prize and they get to take away their cardboard guitar. It'll mean something. They'll remember it. And please don't quote this as a definite. We're trying to get a jamming stage, a third jamming stage, will just be a little one where kids can just put their names down and sort of play on the drums with one of the bands who will
a rock star.
One of the bands will turn up and like, okay, come on, and they'll play with them a little tune for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or you know, they'll get a bass guitar. All right, they may not sound great, they may not even know how to play it, but they're there on that stage with a guitar wrapped around them.
Taking them offline and bringing them into a field.
And then when they go home, we'd like to hope they're like, Mum, I want to go to another. When I'm old enough, I'm going to one on my own. That was great fun. But I think, you know, no disrespect to us and what we do, because part of it as well, 40, 50, 60-year-olds telling a 12-year-old, yeah, I love these bands. That's what I used to be into when I was a kid. But it's not going to work as well as them actually feeling it belongs to them and not the older generation, if that makes sense.
Aye, 100%, because you know that's the thing. It's one of the things when I come up with the concept of Forge Ahead initiative wasn't just about helping young bands. It was trying to get them to introduce their peer group into rock music, because it's cooler for them to look and go, there's an 18-year-old drummer and bad actress, and I'm 17, and I could do that. That's cool. Whereas with the best will in the world, unless they've been brought up in a family where the grandparents or the parents like rock and metal, they're going to be going, what the hell is this? Why am I being dragged along here to see 15, 6-year-old men on a stage? You know, I mean, it's kind of like that. So, and you do have to, and you have to present it in a different way to them as well. It's just like the difference between Facebook and TikTok. If you try and do in Facebook and TikTok what you do in Facebook, it doesn't work because it's a different audience. And I think the stuff that you're doing is I think that's laudable. And I think the thing is, though, that what needs to happen is there needs to be a moratorium, and there needs to be a collection of like-minded people from the industry getting their heads together and actually addressing. Because when you hear words like massive wagons are making it, those damn crows are making it. They don't. You get that Music Week magazine, and they don't appear on anything because they're nowhere near making it compared to other genres of music.
Yes,
and that's a fact. And most of those guys could probably earn more money working in a normal 9-to-5 job than they're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not knocking them at all, but I think we need to stop talking about this, making it. When you do a stadium gig, when you do a festival or a big stadium gig, we're still having to rely on bands at 20, 25 and 30 years old to sell enough tickets. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if we keep doing that, the bands are going to die out and the fans are going to die out.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, the older rock bands, that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
To bring enough people in to be able to see the younger rock bands. You know, it's just simple economics. We wouldn't last very long if we didn't do it, purely for the reasons you told me.
But you're doing the right thing, Steve, though, as well, though. You're also bringing in local bands. You're giving opportunities to young bands. That's the thing, you know, that's the trick. It's getting the balance, because at some point, those young bands, you know, you saw it with those damn crows. They started off opening up in Steelhouse a few years ago on the very first day or something. And then next time they came back, they were higher up. Then the next time higher up, I reckon next year they'll probably be headlining the damn thing. But that's what it needs to be. And you guys are doing that, you know, and I think other festivals do it as well, but you know, but I think that I'm not actually pointing the finger at anybody for having to do it. It's pure economics.
Absolutely.
You know, people want these kind of bands, and the thing is, if you say who do you want to see at the festival next year, they'll come up with the same bloody names all the time anyway. But I'm saying we need to expand out that, and the way to do that is get more young people in that's going, we want Stellaris. We want Unknown Refuge.
Blame the Sacred.
Blame the Sacred.
I love Blame the Sacred.
Yeah.
Well, we saw them at the weekend, didn't we? Along with others.
You did. I was busy feeding the dog. Had to go back for him because it's a long time.
Blame the Sacred are watching this. That should be a t-shirt. Steve saw us, but Zhany was feeding the dog.
I wanted to be there, but I hit tramline's traffic.
No, it's
both directions.
I think it's a merch range right there.
Yeah, that should be on the back of the t-shirt.
You know, one silly thing, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but when you said about t-shirts, it's always better for, well, not always, I mean, it's personal choice, but in my opinion, bands that stick with a sort of a horizontal logo do better on posters, because round logos take a lot of space, and if it's a smaller band, promoters will usually just write the name down instead of using the logo. So it's always worth having two logos for the different kinds of, one for your merch, one for your, or stick with one that's horizontal. Until you get big enough and you can get a round one, like Crusher.
I think just expanding on what you said, I know you're sort of slightly
sorry, I'm stroking the
slightly jokey about it, but it has a serious message behind it. The bands that are trying to attract the attention, the new bands and new talent, and it is talent, I think they need somewhere where they can learn, not so much learn the ropes live on stage, because that's where it is, learn how to get themselves out there to their own audience. I know we speak about younger bands playing to an older audience, and that's just not sustainable. It's not going to happen, because the audience is going to end up in the nursing homes, and the band's got no one to play to. But a lot of bands that we come across, that they know their stagecraft, they're brilliant at it, but then we watch them trying to get it out there, and they're sort of pitching it to us. And that they're missing where they should be targeting in many occasions. And I'm not the one to say how they should do it, because I don't know. We've got just recently on our core team a new member,
Who understands stop.
Hannah Smith. We're all in our 40s and 50s, and well, you're the baby in your 30s, but Hannah's 22, and she is new blood.
She understands TikTok. We don't.
She knows all of this, and so if she tells her peers that these bands are good, it's a lot better than us telling these kids that these bands are good.
100%. That's exactly the right approach. I mean, I'll give you an example. Shadow Smile, when they started out, you know, the first songs and how they put themselves out there, they were doing all right, but most of their crowd, most of the people that were watching them online and stuff like that were 40, 45 and upwards. Interestingly, since they became not better song, but they became more harsher. Actually, the music became slightly more extreme. The last two, and how they pointed themselves, and then they started becoming much more interactive individually with the people who were doing that, watching them, and that their audiences dropped hugely, as not numbers, I mean ages. Yeah. They're now in the, what's that band, Bring Me the Horizon kind of type. It's that kind of lot that's looking up now. And we found that quite interesting, that by doing it. And I think that's one of the things that we can do to attract younger people is show them that there's more to music than just it being a background noise in TikTok. And I think with the lockdown and that, the simple fact is a lot of these young people have felt like they've been isolated. So what better to bring them into a scene than to show what the rock family is like?
Yeah. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I mean, we were, as we were when we were that age, peer pressure is everything.
Yeah.
And there can also be positive peer pressure as well as negative peer pressure. And, you know, a lot of these bands, and anything really, if you're young, if you're under a certain age, you like what everybody else likes. You like what your friends say is good. You're not going to like what your mum and dad say is good, because that's not how it works.
It's just not cool.
If these bands can generate, and the fans of the bands can generate this positive peer pressure, maybe that's not the right word for it, but you know what I mean, to sort of say, you know, come to these gigs, these guys are you, this is us. It's nothing to do with them. They've had their day, which is not super true in the rock world, but you need that initial thing to bring them in, that curiosity of why do all my mates like this?
Well, yeah, because punk did it. Emo did it.
Great example.
Grunge did it. They were all a reaction to overblownness that meant that young people felt like it wasn't for them and they weren't part of it. So something came along that made them feel they were part. And that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. That's the kind of thing that we all need to. I just think that instead of some of us competing with others, or see it as competition, I don't like to play along. I think if they do that, then they're painting themselves into a corner.
Yeah, I mean, earlier on in the chat, this is not like an interview, this is chat. Earlier on in the chat, we mentioned the new wave of British heavy metal. I mean, the one thing that needs taking out of that now is the word new. It's so old that, you know, half the bands can't even do it anymore, and half the people have forgotten who they are, let alone who they're listening to. You know, all joking aside, the point being is that was another one of these reactions against this rebellion against the old. And even that's now the old. So that next rebellion is ripe and ready to happen. It just needs a shove by the right people. I don't know whether we're the ones to do that. We're trying, but I suspect maybe it's not really in our hands as much as we think it is.
No, it needs. Do you know who it needs to be? It needs to be bands like the younger. It needs to be the novice stories. It needs to be the hands-off Gretel. It needs to be the, you know, like what do you call him for Doncaster? Youngblood.
Yeah.
You know, they're mixing things, but they're taking out an energy, and they're taking out, and you know, Christ Almighty, that was rock, that was punk, that was, you know, the outlaw country That's what it was. We need to remember that. And we need to start, like you said, bands, if you're watching this, don't go out trying to attract a specific type of Facebook group because you think if they support you, be yourselves and think about what your message is. And then then what will happen is you create it, the fans will find you, the people that like you. Don't try to tailor what you're doing because you think that'll get you success, because it doesn't bloody work.
Yeah, I mean, as long as the band's great, if some young kids came up to me and like, "Oi, Grandad, stop putting crap on your bill and book us," I'd probably do it. Just because like that's what I'm waiting for. That kind of attitude, that kind of screw you. I'd do it. Just
you do realise you've just invited about 300 young bands. Once this goes out, you can just imagine. You know, my messenger's pinged again. Hey, Grandad, we're at 12, 13, and 14. A punk metal band, and we're too cool for your festival.
If you want us, you've got to work for it. Hey, but that's the attitude that we all used to have when we were young. That's what brought about change, as far as I can see, musically.
I'll just quickly, before we go, I'll just tell you a little story. Bad Actress they were in a competition at the weekend and they won it up in Scotland.
Oh, congratulations.
So they're through to the final of try to play Winterstorm. But one of the feedback that they got from a judge was that they came out and their show was too big for the stage they were on. In other words, they acted like they were in download because one of them Louis came on and backflipped onto the stage or something, and it was like they had too much braggadocio. And I was like, and you know, when this was reported to me by Tina, I was like, what a crock of shit.
That is a bit.
How can you have too much?
Give them a bigger stage.
It's entertainment, mate. I just says, listen, Tina, you take no notice of it. I says, yeah, but what if it comes across as arrogant? I says, fucking good.
Yeah,
As long as they can back it up by actually being entertaining and bloody good at what they do, why would you worry?
They're not gospel choir.
Exactly.
Get on with it.
If you think they're too big for your stage, buy a bigger stage.
Yeah, that's what we have to do.
That's it. Boom. That's a drop the mic moment. That.
But don't drop your mic because they're expensive. And I know this, and it's not a good thing.
I buy cheap ones.
It's one of those things where every time that you see the singer go, you just go,
no.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, just pull my earpiece out.
So
yes.
In terms of what's to follow, there's about 6 weeks left to Rockin the Bowl, and there's shitloads to be done. So we'll probably see you guys then.
Yeah,
we
will do.
However,
well, I'll see the two of you at the Outlaw Orchestra gig.
That's right. Yeah.
On 14th of August, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll see you at that because we're looking forward to that.
Perfect.
However, like always, I don't have a question for you this time, but what I will say is, guys, get on the page, the rockinthebowl.co.uk. Look in the top left-hand corner. There's a lovely little countdown which shows you. It's got all the information in front of it as well. Like, so you've got all your COVID updates as well. So any safety issues that you have, they are all answered on the web page. Check these guys out. Reach out to Grandad. Shout out to him and say, I want to be in this stage. So get in touch. What more can I say except for, John, over to you, buddy.
And there is also on the same website a camera which shows you how much Steve ages every day as he gets to World's Deed.
I've stopped looking at that.
So anyway, I'd just like to thank the two of you for coming back on the show. It's been an absolute blast as always. And you know, it's people like these that will make the difference as far as our scene's concerned. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. Hit that cowbell, subscribe.